lawyer and I have discussed, that is Wole Olanipekun. Wole Olanipekun never asked for a perpetual. No court will grant you any perpetual injunction. An injunction must be related to a definite happening. So when a court issues an interim injunction, it says, oh, I'm issuing this interim injunction until the determination of the motion on notice for an injunction. Or when hearing the motion on notice for injunction, okay, I am issuing an injunction until the determination of this case. So an injunction must be hinged upon the happening of an event. So there is nothing like a perpetual injunction. And I doubt, and I'm yet to be, corrected, that Odile had a perpetual injunction. No.
Restraining AFCC from investigating?
No,
there was no such thing.
There was nothing. What happened was that the charges brought against him were challenged on a technical ground by Wole Olanipekun. And the court agreed. AFCC had the right to appeal. Why haven't they appealed?
That's the big question.
That is the big question. Instead of talking about the judges, instead of talking about the lawyers.
We understand that they have actually appealed. It was just
what is happening over 8 years?
We understand that they have appealed. It was just about this week that, because we also remember that EFCC former boss Farida Waziri was on this program and she talked about filing an appeal. And somebody did confirm it to us this week that they did file an appeal, but it has not been listed even as we speak.
Look, I am not saying there are misstatements. Just this May, the Court of Appeal has just even issued a new, ways of filing appeals. They have even shortened on interlocutory appeals. You now have only about 14 days within to compile your records and submit your briefs. On final appeals, I think you have about 30 days to do that now. Most of the time to file appeals have been shortened. Now, when you file an appeal, there are two processes. If you had asked her whether those two processes have been followed. Number one, the appellant must compile with the courts the records, because a court of appeal will not be seized of any appeal until it has the records of the lower court. Even if you file an appeal, if EFCC files an appeal, if they don't compile the records and the records are not transmuted from the High Court to the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal will not entertain, they have no jurisdiction. So until that is done and the compilation of record is followed by the writing of briefs. So if anybody tells you we have appealed, you should ask them these two questions. Have you compiled the records? Has your lawyer written a brief? Those two things have not been done. Because if they had been done, things will not be what they are.
Just quickly, sorry, Chamberlain, also this week, we've also been talking about corruption, and the fight against corruption. What's your take on that? Do you think we're making progress in that direction?
Well, I am not a politician. I am not a moralist to judge people. From my own teaching and, learning from the Bible, judge not so that you should not be judged. Corruption has eaten deep into every facet of Nigerian society. It is not what you and I can sit down here and say we want to stop it. The people who know how to stop corruption in this country, because corruption is every stage of our life has been corrupted. You go to a government office, you need a file to move from one table to the other. If you don't give money to the clerk, you go to the registries in court. You want to serve processes which by law the bailiffs must serve. You must, give.
Even in court?
Even in everywhere in Nigeria. These are the ones I can speak from inner knowledge. But it's happening everywhere. Don't let us hide these facts. It is not only the police that are corrupt. It's not only the politicians. Even messengers, middle-class executives, bankers, bank managers before they grant you a loan. We all know this. The question is, how do we stop it?
Are we making progress?
We are not making any progress.
Even with the agencies?
No, we are not at all. We are not making any progress. Let me be honest. Before you become an Inspector General of Police in Nigeria, today, if you don't know the people, politicians on top. You can never get to that post. If you want to be the head of EFCC today, if you don't lobby for it, you can't get it. These are corruptions. So how do we stop all these things? Do we use the same system to stop it? Or do we use human beings? The system cannot stop it because it is the system that is promoting it.
I've heard people say that the AFCC cannot investigate the state governors, that it is the House of Assemblies that have the powers to do that.
No. I did that case. When Darie was governor in 2005, EFCC invited the accountant general of Plateau State to bring all its books. They wanted to. So Darie phoned me and I flew there and I said, look, don't carry your books. The EFCC has no right to investigate a state government the way and manner they are spending their money. It is the duty of the Committee of Finance of the House that will look into it. If anything is wrong, then they table it in the House. EFCC can pick any official who has committed an offense relating to financial malpractices. They can arrest him. But to EFCC to order a state government, you bring your books of accounting, we want to look at it. No. That duty is specifically for the State House of Assembly.
So that means the EFCC cannot, on that basis then, prosecute any governor, unless the State House of Assembly finds the governor.
No. Don't get me wrong. The governor is covered by immunity. So they can't even touch him.
What about afterwards?
Afterwards, well, if it's out of him, all of them are facing trial now. All of them. You see, what we are talking now is EFCC asking the apparatus of governance, the executive arm, to bring their books for them to, investigate. What I'm saying is that they cannot do that. But they can pick on an individual, like the accountant general. Oh, we learned you issued a check, this check. Who gave you authority to issue?
Well, a quick one here before you go, Chief Robert Clarke, is, are we gradually gravitating towards a two-party system?
I pray we do, because I have been an eyewitness. I have been a player in Nigeria 21, 22 years ago when a two-party system, that is the best thing that has ever happened to this country. And one has to give kudos to IBB. So one slightly to the left, one slightly to the right. But you find that there was no difference between the two parties.
Tell us about this lingering ASU strike before you go.
Well, ASU strike has been a perennial problem in Nigeria. I believe that if everybody wants to fight for its right in Nigeria, everybody will go on strike in this country. There are certain people who should not, think too much of material benefits. They have to look at the other side of their calling. ASU are not only destroying, the system of education in Nigeria by going on this unlimited strike, they are also destroying the future of these young people. I remember, let me be honest, during the IBB time in the 90s, ASU went on this long strike. I had to take my stepdaughter, withdrew her from Unilag, and sent her to England, to London University. Today she's about 10 years at the back practicing. Because what should take 3 years will take 5, 6 years. And they have started it again.
Sir, is it about ASU? Because ASU is saying right now, we ourselves, we're tired of these strikes. We don't want them anymore. Yet, our universities don't seem to be moving forward. We did an agreement with the government in 2009, and we're asking for the implementation. Government put pen to paper with us, and yet they haven't lived up to their own side of the agreement. What instrument do you think that they can use to make government do what it should do, as regards the education system?
Look, these are the corruption in Nigeria, I say, has permeated every. ASU's problem is the same thing with the medical doctors. If they come out to tell you they are on to and say they want to go on strike, the whole medical system will collapse. I don't say they don't have a right to go on strike. I say they don't have a right to go on an indefinite strike. You can go on, look, in civilized countries, they give you notice, we want to go on a 2-day strike or a 1-day strike. The main purpose is to draw public attention to what they are fighting. And they have an organized society. The papers will take their reasoning up, editorials, and they have a listening government. In Nigeria, we don't have. We don't have a listening government. Therefore, if ASU goes on a 2-day strike, there is no newspaper who will help them carry their destiny, no editorials that will be favorable to them, that government, will say, oh, we are being attacked in the newspaper. And there is no listening government. And they believe that, oh, indefinite strike will do this. But has it ever done it for them?
Well, Mr. Robert Clarke.
The Yoruba say, TB, Shanoki is Yogun. You see? If you say there is no medicine, you take a light and just, you see, when you do like this, there is fire. Is that not magic? But what I'm saying is that they have tried this strike. For the past 20 years, ASU has been going on this indefinite. What have they achieved? Let them try another time, another system, so that our children, well, do you know how many children are now going around, the streets in Lagos? I have just employed 2 little girls, to come to my chamber just for that period, because their parents are my friend. I don't want them to be roaming about the street. I said, okay, come, I'll give you 20,000. Come and be sitting down at 8 o'clock in my chamber and close and be learning computer.
Well, thank you for coming on this morning. Mr. Robert Clarke is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Oh, yes, indeed. Well, back after this break. Please join us again.